The workbench. As home builders, we all have one. It's the centerpiece, the pièce de résistance of our workshops, garages, or even sheds. Mine is a hybrid mix of a 3/4 plywood and a 1-inch thick plate, 16 by 38. And as primitive as this is, I build countless cool projects on this thing. But I want to upgrade to a more productive and precise workbench. So I set myself a challenge of designing and building a very flat and precise welding table, only using a grinder and a welder? Yes, I know, it's been done before, using laser cut parts to build a fixture table, but there's a twist to my proposal. Typically, you can buy plans with DXF files or an off-the-shelf pre-cut table that you can assemble at home. Also, you need to buy the rest of the accessories and locating pins, and all of that at a pretty good price. But what if I could come up with a product that you could build at home, only using a grinder and a welder? And I'm not just talking about the table, but also all the accessories. Yep, no machining involved. You simply get the plans, find a local laser cutting supplier, choose the size of the table you want and the quantity and type of accessories you need, send the DXF files, pick it up, build it, and voila! Because you're now the lucky owner of a fixture table, and all of that at a fraction of the price. Well, it seems too good to be true, and it kinda is, because the price to pay is precision. So this must be less precise, right? Or is it? Well, this is what I challenge myself to find out. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's rewind to the beginning of this project and see how I developed such a product. Je te mets un petit truc, ça va être douette. Ok, peut-être semi-douette. Since there will be 4 zillion holes, I ordered from my local supplier 3, let's call them pre-prototype plates in thicknesses of 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch. And don't worry for all of you non-American folks, I made a metric version of 6, 10, and 12 millimeters too. The goal is to test fit between 5/8 pins and different sized holes. And I also gonna check the fit between tabs and notches of different sizes. So the pin doesn't fit in the 2 bottom rows. It fits nice in the 3rd and kinda loose in the 4th. Note that I only have a 5 thou increment between rows. And it's surprising how fast it goes from "there's no chance this thing's gonna fit in" to "I think we're soulmates" and now it's a hot dog in a hallway. To simplify manufacturing, I designed the pre-prototype plates to be cut into 2 parts, so we can test the tabs with their notches. And in this case, the smaller gap seems to be the best. Since I'm planning on having all the accessories laser cut too, I made a subassembly of 2 pins and 2 plates to verify the play. With the bigger holes, I ended up with about 20 thou of play, which is not very good. But by combining the smaller holes, I ended up with only 7 thou of play. Not bad. So I think we have a winner. And with these basic dimensions, I went to town on the computer and designed this. Ta-da! This is my version of a laser cut welding fixture table, and although mine is imperial, as I said previously, a metric version is also available. I split the tables in 3 different categories, which is 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch, meaning that if you choose, let's say, an 1/2 inch table, all the plates, and I'm talking top plates, siding, ribs, all the plates will be 1/2 inch. I also made all the possible width and length configurations, starting from a 2x2 all the way to a 4x8 feet in 1 foot increments, giving us a total of 18 different tables. And if you multiply it by the 3 different thicknesses, you end up with 54 tables. And once again, multiply it by 2 because of the metric version, and you end up with a grand total of 108 unique different tables. But to simplify the purchase experience, if you buy, let's say, a 1/4 inch table, in the same package, you will get the drawings and DXF files of all 18 width and length configurations. So it's not a problem if you're not set on which table size you want, as long as you know in which thickness you want it to be. We could sum up the different thicknesses by saying a 1/4 inch is for home gamers, not really beginners, but they don't use it all the time. 3/8, well, we're getting more serious, but still an hobby. And 1/2 inch? Well, it's for life, and probably you're making money out of this table. And all tables have a 6-inch height sidewalls and ribs to achieve a better flatness result. Me, I choose to go with a 3/8 by 3x8 feet. The 3/8 is cheaper than 1/2 inch, and although I'm serious about my welding, it's still a hobby, and I choose the 3x8 feet because it's the size of my current workbench and it fits pretty well in this shop. Okay, I just sent the DXF files to my local supplier, and I've got about a week or two to spare before getting the parts. So let's start working on the clamping accessories. At my local hardware store, I got these long nose vice grip knockoff for only $4.50 a piece. And these C-clamps for only $6 a piece. I know it's not as good as the Vice Grip brand, but remember that I'm still in the testing mode here. Because I love tooling, cutting a good one will hurt my poor little heart, and I care less about cutting cheap ones. And now for the pins. Yeah, this is what I'm planning to use. This is a 5/8 cold roll steel. Don't get the hot roll, get the cold rolled steel. It's a bit more expensive, but it's also more precise, and they don't have scale on it. I've been testing different suppliers and rods, and they all came out close with the same dimensions, which is 2 thou under 5/8, probably because they're getting all their steel from the same manufacturer. Still, it's a good sign for me, because in the future, if I need to purchase more 5/8 rod, hopefully they will have the same diameter. Whoa, hold on, buddy, I thought I sent the machining. Okay, this is just to clean up the faces and add a generous chamfer. And the lathe will give you a pro finish for that. Better than a sander or grinder. Okay, fine, I won't cheat. See? Works the same. Actually, it's even faster. Now I'm cutting off the bottom jaw of the long nose. And this is proof that I'm mentally only 5 years old. Vernünftig. I plan to weld a small pad on the tip of the pliers to have a bigger contact patch, thus having a better grip on the plate. But I gotta say that only with the tip, it's pretty impressive. Now without the pad, it's sitting too high to grip a 1/4 inch plate. Easy fix, just have to change a little bit the angle. Also, having just that small tip will be more practical when fixturing will get crowded. These clamps will be used to lock in place the adjustable accessories. Oh yeah! You'll see once we get to that part of the video. I did 2 other prototypes, one with a flathead screw. It locked itself inside the hole, but the top plate was all loosey-goosey, plus you need a wrench to lock it in place. And this one, which grips below the table and pivots to lock the plate in place. This one is too complicated for nothing. The Vice Grip version is by far the big winner for its low cost and ease of production. I did essentially the same trick with the C-clamp, cut it and weld it to a pin, and voila! You now have a $6.50 C-clamp that you can grab onto a 1/4 inch plate. Kinda. Apparently the pad has a limited angle and can go all the way to a 3-inch tube. Sorry. Yellow. Really? Nice. Yep, I'm coming. My parts are ready, so I'm gonna take a small break of talking, because I need to be somewhere else.
Yeah, that minute. Merveilleux.
And I'm back. Oh, I forgot something. Steel tables are really heavy, and this one is about 750 pounds. And with the load as far up from the tractor, I quickly reached the capacity of my little Massey. But luckily, with a bit of help from my airbag trailer, I managed to get that bundle into my shop. Oh yeah, it's not lacking it at all. Still, let's perform that classic kicking of the tire, like it's gonna change something. Well, I had one concern in mind. How's gonna be the fit between the top plate and the pins?
Yes! Woohoo! Tight fit, but just the way I like it.
A disadvantage of buying directly from a laser cutting supplier than from a company that sells welding tables and kits is the cleaning. As you may know, I'm not a big fan of grinding. But since it's gonna take only a few hours and I'll save a few $1,000 for this time, I won't mind. I found out that the pin was going in easier from the top. than from the bottom. Maybe it has something to do with the spatters left from the laser cutting process. Anyway, I decided to clean all the holes by hammering a pin through them, and it was way easier to do at this stage without sidewalls and ribs. I did drill some holes, but frankly, I prefer having a tighter fit than having it too loose. I did plan on chamfering all the holes with my mag drill from Vevor. If you're interested in buying such a marvelous piece of equipment, please use my link below. I'm not making any money out of this, but it could help me getting access to new tools in the future. So, thank you! Anyway, I didn't chamfer the holes because the pin is only touching the top and bottom corners, which we can clearly see from that cross-section view, and since the plate is only 3/8, by adding a chamfer, I'll reduce the distance between corners, thus increasing the rocking movement of the pin and reducing the precision of the accessory's location. If I had bought the 1/2-inch plate, a chamfer could have been a good idea. But you know, at the end of the month, we all have bills to pay, and sometimes it's getting harder and harder to justify to my wife why I'm spending so much money on my fabricating hobby. Oh, and that reminds me of something. Am I the only one whose wife is directly translating her husband's expenses into vacation trips? Okay, let's say for her. This is not a trailer. This is a nice trip for two to the Dominican Republic. This is not a smart booza. It's a family vacation to Cancun in Mexico. And this is not a tractor. This is Europe, right there. Am I the only one? But don't worry folks, the welding table is not that expensive. It's just about a one-way ticket to Cuba. At least that's what I told her. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, cleaning and punching pins. And after only an hour and a half, I was getting to the last hole. Yep, keep in mind that laser cut plates will be curved, but we'll take care of that during assembly. I also found out that the tabs were a bit too long, so I grind off just a smidge for ease of installation. I took a note and made sure to modify my original design. Since the pins were getting in easier from the top face, and because the table will be assembled from the bottom up, I decided to flip the top plate, but that was a mistake. You see, in pursuit of flatness, having the plate frowning when it's on the sawhorse, the sheer weight of the plate itself will have a tendency of flattening its curve. And as we can see, having the plate smiling will increase the natural curve, which is far from what we need in pursuit of flatness, so flipping the plate was a mistake. To give me a chance of getting the table somewhat flat, I added a third middle support. Okay, the next 30 seconds of footage is just... it's wrong. I was trying to put in the first longer rib, but because the top plate was backwards, I had a real hard time. I tried to straighten the top plate by clamping the long rib in the middle, which kind of worked, but what I was actually doing was closing the gaps for the smaller ribs, which interlock into the long ribs. Once Dum Dum here realized that, he cranked up the metal support and the smaller ribs fell magically into place. Next, I cut 1/2-inch hole threads into 8-inch long bits. These will be to clamp the ribs to the top plate. I'm not superstitious, but a good practice is to drop the first hole thread you're trying to install. It's a humble gesture to please the god of flatness, so don't forget it. And don't come to me like, "Hey Viny, I did exactly like you did in your video and my table is far from being flat." But did you drop the first hole thread? Did you? Also, sometimes putting a washer and sometimes not putting a washer is good practice too. Cause we all know that the mythical god of flatness is a good buddy of the god of randomness.
20 minutes later.
There you go, all ribs are clamped. And I use a little bit of everything to do so. I use parts that was holding the flying machine to my trailer, actual leg support from the table itself, and also my pre-prototype plates. If you don't have the same hoarding problem as I do, I'll include in the table's package a 1/4-inch plate to do the clamping. One thing I thought could be interesting to verify at this point was the gap between the top plate and the ribs. It seems overkill, but by adding more and more clamps to the table, one set got loose. Now for the sidewalls. Unfortunately, I couldn't find long enough all threads, so I use a coupling nut to extend them. Once everything was clamped, I started welding the ribs to the top plate with only an inch-long stitch in all corners. Don't fully weld the plates. I repeat, don't fully weld the plates. This thing's gonna warp on ya. And I also welded the tabs in their notches. Once everything was welded, I unclamped and freed the table from its contraption to realize that I was left with one extra rib? Yes, I should have double-checked the quantity of my email, cause I only need 2 long ribs, not 3. So yeah, don't be a Viny and check thoroughly all the quantity before sending the mail. Then I quickly install the legs plates. By the way, I include a legs drawing in every table's package. While we're watching myself flipping the table for one last time, I know that at one point somebody will comment that, "Hey man, Fireball Tooling is making exactly the same tables." Not really. To be fair, the one I made is far from the one Fireball is making. His appears to be cast, then machined. It's far more precise than something laser cut, but the price tag goes in pair with that precision. I mean, they're far from cheap. These are 2 different products for 2 different markets. But I can tell you this, even though my table is probably not perfectly flat, I'll enjoy every second of it, building stuff that doesn't require the perfect 5 thou flatness every foot. And speaking of flatness, we have now reached the moment to see how flat my table is. Using this. Not really. No, more like using this. This is an all machine and ground straight edge that I borrowed from my shop. Okay, it's not perfectly flat, but...
Well, not so bad.
We can clearly see the light shining through under the straight edge. The top plate goes up and down, it's kind of a big wave. And using a filler gauge, we'll find out how big is that wave, starting with 2 thou.
What? Okay, here I got a gap. Yeah, huge gap here.
Now I tried 5 thou, and yeah, it was going through.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that.
Then I did 7.
Yeah, it's not going in at all. So, yeah, let's call it 6.
I mean 6 thou? Whoa. That's even better than I expected, because remember where it started from. Then I moved to the edge and it wasn't as pretty as the middle section. Again, checking with the filler gauge, I realized that all around the table, let's say the last 3 inches, was bending down. The worst parts were about 20 to 25 thou, and the best one just a bit over 10. Luckily, I won't use much of that area of 2 to 3 inches from the side, but still, I think I didn't clamp properly the outer plates. So folks, take a note here. We all need more clamps. 25 thou seems like a lot, I know, but compared to what I worked on for the past decade.
Yeah. 1/16 of an inch.
I was now ready to disassemble my old workbench. Mais ok, je dis que j'étais prêt, let's go. Ouais.
Well, that's a few pounds.
And yes, I disassembled it because I want to reuse the bottom half of my current workbench. I really enjoyed it. It's already got 2 giant drawers, 2 sets of shelves, and a tool chest. After a few cuts, I added a steel siding to protect the wood from any red hot spatters. Then it was ready for the final mating. I know a wooden structure is not sturdy enough for a precise table, so I rolled the table in its final position and put shims where the table seemed to be floated in the air. Then I double-checked with a straight edge and nothing moved. It's finally time to build some accessories. And I can already use my table and clamps to do the thing I like the most to do, which is grinding. Ugh.
One eternity later.
Woo!
Okay, I know I'm lucky on this one because a few years ago, I found some precision squares at a scrapyard, and they will be very handy to build the accessories. But you could use anything you know is square, like a big chunk of metal or a pair of 1, 2, 3 blocks. And just like that, I made my first fixture jig on my welding fixture table. Oh, now I'm gonna get emotional. It's up ready. I double-checked, making sure everything stayed square, and it's looking good. And just as simple as that, I started building different jigs to produce different precise parts. For real, it's such a game changer, folks. I'm also using the anti-spatter emulsion, eWeld 4, and it works like a charm. You simply spray it like this, or if you feel a bit more gangsta. Okay, I'm done building all the accessories, and here a summary of them all. But don't worry, I'll do another video for the accessories, getting more into details. Starting with a pin, which is a simple 5/8 cold roll shaft, well to a laser cut handle. Then you have your first fence or stopper. This is a 2x4x2 and it's a fixed position one. This is the adjustable version and it comes at 6 inches long. This one is crucial to set precise dimensions. You'll see once we get at the final precision test at the end of this video. Then we have the 45-degree stopper, also adjustable, it works in pair, and they are easy to identify by a 45-degree notch. And I made also a longer fence, this one is 10-inch. All the stoppers come with a series of V-grooves, which you use to set up round tubes or pipes. You could use a pair of adjustable fence to set a specific dimension. The grooves are made to work with pipes up to 2 inches, and I made a bigger version that can take a 6 inches pipe. Then we have a small adjustable tower, a 4-inch adjustable fence. Now following this is an adjustable angle stopper. This one has a ton of hidden features, which I'll showcase in the next video. But for now, let's roughly set it at 25 degrees. And I end up at almost 27 degrees. Close enough for a quick demo. Oh yeah, clamps are quite expensive, so I made these from a simple laser cut part, an Acme rod, and some flat bar. I also made the adjustable version, and yes, all of these are included in the same accessories package. Then we have a bigger tower. It can work in its upward position, or lay on its side, and from there you can start building with other accessories. It can also be used as an extension, super useful to fabricate bigger parts, or it could be used to put your coffee as far as possible from grinding dust. I mean, I'm really impressed on how flush this thing came out. This is the biggest tower / extension you will have in the accessories package. Because as you remember, once you buy a table package, you're getting all the 18 different table sizes. And these are your extensions. Let's say you start by building, just like me, a 3x8 feet table, and at one point you want to extend it. Using, I don't know, a 2x2 table, you slap 2 legs on it, and bam! You've been extended. Oh, and yes, we've got this guy. It's adjustable in this way or this way. And if you had this plate, it's now a super square. You can use it to set a tube at 90 degrees. And you still have access to make the weld. Okay, let's say you need to weld a bigger tube. No problem. Shift down the plate, buy 1 hole, and you're good to go. Lastly, we have this guy, and it's a corner bracket. A set of 4 of these, and you could have a pretty nice jig to fabricate tables in minutes. After welding, they had a tendency of curving, so I improved the design of this one. Again, with a good access for welding. Side note, since honesty is a big thing for me, if you do fabricate your own table, you might find that some holes are a bit too tight. I kinda prefer having it this way than too loose, but I include in all packages a testing plate with the corresponding thickness. and then validate the fit with the cold roll shaft you're gonna get or other accessories you already have, and change the hole size if you're not completely satisfied. To do so, you could use AutoCAD and I never personally used it, but you could use LibreCAD too. It's a free software and I heard great things about it. Oh, and now is the time for the final precision test. And I'm gonna use the biggest caliper I could find. Again, I borrowed it from my shop. The plan is to set 2 fences at a random location, 24 inches apart, only using the fixed holes, and see how precise it will come out.
So with this setup, anything better than a 16 of an inch, I'm gonna be happy with it.
Yes, because you have to remember that there's a loose between the pin and the fence, the pin and the table, and since I built this, the distance from the hole to the sidewall could be off. Oh, and yes, double it since we're using 2 fences.
Like this. And we have... from my point of view, which is through the camera, I would say, let's call it 27. Not bad. Really not bad at all.
Yes, that's not bad, because we're gonna get this, let's call it 1/32 of an inch tolerance, anywhere between 2 fences. And I'm saying even from a 2-inch gap and all the way to 88-inch distance. But this one seems under 1/32, but I can validate it since I don't have a big enough caliper. In comparison, I did my best on my lovely snow roller, and I know it should be at 62 1/4, and yeah, I'm an 8 off. So I'll take this 1/32 all day long. But in reality, it's pretty rare we're gonna have round dimensions. So instead, we're using the adjustable stoppers that we set using a measuring tape.
24. Snap. There we go. I'm...
And ooh, I got lucky on this one, but it's spot on. I'm at 0. To be fair, I did this exercise 3 more times and it was around on plus and minus 15 thousandths of an inch. Again, we're almost in the machining world with those dimensions, so this thing is amazing. But what's the cost of such a table? For comparison, mine, which is a 3/8 by 3 by 8 feet, is, with taxes, minus the extra rib, $975 US. And for the accessories I choose, $500 US. For other comparison, I got prices from my local laser cut supplier, and the smallest table, which is a 1/4 2x2, is only $220 US. And for the big one, which is a 1/2 inch 4 by 8 feet, it's about $1,600. Now for the plans, each table package are $30 and all accessories package are also $30. In conclusion, it's an amazing product. If you're into building stuff, it's a real game changer. Even if you get the small 1/4 2x2, it's gonna improve by a lot your fabricating skill. So yeah, think about it. Alright, I'm Viny. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss part 2 on the accessories.